Pete Weber, again, likes to get that score up there first.
Yeah, he doesn't care which lane his opposition is better equipped to strike on. He wants to post his score. That's his strategy. Always has been, always will be. That's wide.
Well, nothing lost. Leaves the 1-2-4.
You know, Rick didn't throw too many practice shots during our break. He was busy smiling about winning his last match.
Oh. He's got to get his attention back to Mr. Weber.
Well, if anybody can get his attention, I'm sure Petey will do it. Very important. He's throwing his strike ball to make this fair. He's hooking at it.
And no trouble.
Knows what he's doing. And now our first look at, and I think you can use the G word, the great Pete Weber. He's proved that over and over again. Small in stature, but large in talent.
Well, it runs in that family, doesn't it?
Yeah, just a little. Well, that was that shot. He looked at his hand. That ball was left of target as he threw it. Pete Weber, one of the great spare shooters in the game. Even with that big hooking ball, a strike ball, he'll throw the ball hard and straight. Shouldn't have any problem.
3-6-10. Trouble.
Maybe a problem. Well, Pete, you made me look bad. We'll take a look at Pete Weber. He's going to shake that off. Not a big deal. You can see Pete takes a 5-step approach. The ball starts in the second step, and look how high his backswing is. Way up there. Beautiful position to release. A lot of power.
Such an athletic finish.
That's okay, Pete says. I'll give you that one open frame, but I'm still here.
These guys out here are too good to give him anything.
Well, he didn't want to give it to him, but he knows there's a lot of game left. As you can see, Rick SteelSmith defeated Pete Weber 258-228 in match play. He doesn't need to beat him by 30 pins. He just wants to beat him by at least one.
Yep.
Coming off a bad shot in the first. Better release.
Ball kind of hooked out right at the pocket there.
It hooked out just at the right time. About 55 feet, that ball was flush, and it just stayed there.
Rick SteelSmith.
We'll take a look at Rick SteelSmith's release. Once again, coming right up behind the ball. That's so important for all you amateurs.
And that snap there at the end.
It's a wrist snap coming from behind the ball. So many people equate hooking with spinning, and it just doesn't work. Pete Weber's not even watching.
High.
Got a good break.
Trips the 4 out, leaves just the 9.
That might have been just a little bit of residue from the first shot on lane 33 where he missed the head pin.
Changes balls to shoot at the 9 pin. Single
you can
pin
see
spare.
his best finish at the Columbia 300 Open was 6th place. He makes the spare, but didn't hit much of that pin, but got enough of it.
Kind of gave it a little longer look than he thought he'd need to.
And Rick has finished 6th so many times in the past, half a year to 9 months. It certainly feels good for him to be bowling on TV.
This guy's there every week. The 1 week he didn't make it, he lost the position round to miss out on the telecast.
So you can see he won in Tucson. A little bit of a disturbance off the left. A young lady was getting back into her seat. Pete Weber, being the professional that he is, will reset himself. Very, very big shot, working on a strike. Can cut that lead from 11 down to 1 pin. That'll get there.
"15 years ago, when it was the City of Roses Open, guess who won?"
That was when it was called Timber Lanes. That's before Leo and Mark Frank purchased this beautiful facility. 15 years ago, my gosh. He came out on the tour young.
He hasn't put a pound on since.
For the lead. And look at that intensity, Mike. Here's a man who wants to be the man. He knows he's good enough to be the man.
Yeah. Well, in the back of his mind, his dad has, 26 titles. I'm sure he's aiming to get that this year.
Well, yeah, he'll get there. And there's not a prouder man out on this earth than his father, Dick Weber.
And the tour now is going to ABC in our first two stops, the AC Delco Classic at Cal Bowl.
And then we go to the Showboat Bowling Center in Las Vegas for the Showboat Invitational, the oldest stop on the PBA Tour. That'll be ABC, 3 o'clock to 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time.
March 8th and then March 15th.
Rick SteelSmith with the opportunity to take that 9-pin deficit and turn it into a 1-pin lead with a strike on 33.
Oh, what a bad break.
The Silverado Trail Boss. And the suspension to make it a
late hit carries many, many times.
As you can see, Pete Weber pointing at something. I think he probably wants a re-rack on lane 34. We'll take a look at this ball. This is to take the lead. It's trying to hook back. It gets a little to the head pin, and that shot will strike a lot of times.
A lot of times. At the 7-pin. Straight at it.
Hang on, ball.
Straight at it. It hangs on. It was listening. 9 pins the difference. Weber has him.
You can see Pete Weber is only 21,000 behind Walter Ray Williams. He can get to within $3,000 of Walter Ray this week, and don't think Walter isn't concerned about that because he doesn't want to relinquish that spot. For 4 in a row. Got a hold, and it did. And it did. Look at that. There's a lot of intensity going on with Pete Weber. He wants it bad.
He's always angry at the pins, it seems like.
Well, I can relate to that. It's fun being angry at the pins.
When they fall down.
Yeah, yeah, when they cooperate.
Seems like a lot of times in that argument, though, they have the last word.
Well, yeah, too many times.
Weber, 5 in a row.
Got a hold, and it does again. That ball was left of his target, Mike, but he got the ball out of the lane, projected it out, and it held.
Pete Weber leads by 29. Rick SteelSmith is overcome. Can he come back? We'll find out when we come back. Stay with us. Rick SteelSmith trailing by 29 pins. However, we do have half a game to bowl, and he says, I'm going to show up, and I can strike too.
You can see his TV averages in the past: 4 wins, 9 losses. Going to have to start striking now. Pete Weber is really, really throwing it well. Good looking shot, but it
just a hair soft or something. It's clean.
It looked good off his hand. I think he thought it looked good off his hand. Well, now he puts himself in a huge position of being so far behind with Pete Weber throwing nothing but strikes.
4, 6, 7 at the 4-7. Nothing bounces out, so it's an open frame in the 6th frame. SteelSmith now falls further behind.
And that's unfortunate. He was bowling on a lane that he had struck the previous 2 times.
Mike Durbin, along with Marshall Holman, here for the championship round finals of the Pba Oregon Open. We're in the semifinal match. Rick SteelSmith is taking on Pete Weber. SteelSmith defeated Tim Chris in our second match after Chris had won our opening match over Doug Kent. Rick SteelSmith looking for his first strike on the left lane, and it's just not happening in our semifinal match. Weber on a roll, 5 in a row.
Yeah, Weber gave him the early break, missing the 3-6-10 in the first frame, but since then, nothing but strikes.
And you said that wouldn't matter, that Weber would just shake that off.
Well, if you're going to make a mistake, do it early in the game.
Weber showing his versatility.
Spent most of the practice session, most of the hour of practice playing inside where Rick SteelSmith is playing. And it wasn't until about 15 minutes prior to the time of air that he moved outside.
But he's going so straight.
He's throwing the ball hard and straight. Good loft. Hitting a ball well out of the lane. Well, he didn't like that shot. He overturned it.
We know that he's thinking all the time is trying to stay behind that ball like SteelSmith does.
Well, they all are. All the players need to stay behind the ball. It doesn't matter whether you throw the big hook or you throw it straight. It has to come from behind. He'd like to make it this time.
Hooks it at it this time and doesn't make it again.
He's 0 for 2, and he's put Rick SteelSmith in a position of having a chance.
Wow, 8 out on that spare, too.
It's now just a 26-pin lead for Pete Weber. It's nice to have 26-pin lead. As you see Pete Weber hooking at him. Goes out, chops it off. That spare's got him.
And he knows it right now.
He doesn't want to leave it again.
Funny hit.
Well, that's a very common hit in today's game where you hit half pocket and you snap the 10-pin out and leave the 7. Happens on the left-hand side with snapping the 7 out and leaving the 10.
Cross lane at the 7-pin.
And he made a spare. He's happy. You know, Mike, and speaking of left-handers, there wasn't a left-hander to be found in the top 24 this week. So we mentioned earlier in the year how they may have had an edge in one of our first tournaments. Not here in Portland.
Well, no edge this week. SteelSmith, though, he's got any chance. He's got to start striking right now.
He's got a chance, but he needs to go with the strike in the 8th frame.
Keeps himself alive. Strike in the 8th frame. 9th frame. He can still strike out for 216.
He can strike out for 216. Pete Weber currently working on a 212 pace. So this is an extraordinarily important shot for Rick. He was able to suck it up last game when he needed it at the end. Can he do it now?
Well, he knows he's still in this match.
Well, you'll see a lot of emotion if he gets a strike on lane 33.
Perfect.
Oh, yeah. And Weber's got to be thinking to himself, what the heck did I do giving this guy a second life? Now, Pete's got a couple of problems. Number one, his lead is down to 16 pins. But the other problem is he's come in high on this lane twice. So he's not extraordinarily comfortable on lane 34.
Oh, man.
Or maybe he is.
Did you see that ball hit where Chris was hitting, leaving the weak 10, just snapped it right out of there.
Yeah, but Pete Weber's ball, unlike Tim Chris's ball, now watch the way Pete gets the ball well out to the right. It keeps on trying. What I mean by that is it keeps on digging, keeps on hooking, snaps that 10-pin out. Look at those eyes. Oh, yeah.
But he has to strike here to lock this match up.
That's right. Strike here. He goes on to the title match. Anything less. Oh, just as good as he can throw it.
That's a single goal.
I'll tell you, very seldom do you have the opportunity to make 2 really bad errors in a game and still close the match out.
Is he going to stay out there, or will he throw this one down the middle?
He's going down the middle. Got it. He'll throw it hard and straight from somewhere.
That's it.
Yeah. He was aware of the score, Mike. Did exactly what he had to do. Now, on this shot, I think he'll go back to his strike shot again to try and be comfortable, ready for the final match. No, he's throwing hard and straight again. My gosh, he's striking from everywhere. As he shows his power. Now, he's a fan of bodybuilding.
That we can tell.
He knows all the poses. He just doesn't have the body.
9 strikes in that game. 2 opens, 1 spare. 232 Pete Weber winds up with. SteelSmith crosses over.
Just finishing up the game. Still a great finish for Rick SteelSmith. He takes home $7,000 for a 3rd place finish. And I'm sure we'll be seeing him very soon.
Rick SteelSmith is going to lose this semifinal match.